Will your deduction skills bring you agony or harmony? Find out with our review of Expressions.
Expressions is a cooperative deduction game about figuring out the cards in your teammates' hands. And I really love how quickly it plays, and as soon as I was done, I wanted to play it again.
Ever since we played this at Gen Con, I've loved it more and more each time we played it. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. Deal out the cards to each player according to the number of players, and then put the remaining cards in a timer stack.
On each player's turn, they can either play a card from their hand to give a clue to everyone else, or they can guess a card from another player's hand.
The clues that a player could give are if that card is the highest, lowest, or last of that color remaining, or if they have multiples of that number in their hand.
If a card is guessed correctly, that card and a card from the guesser's hand goes on the harmony side.
If guessed incorrectly, that card and a card from the guesser's hand goes to the agony side.
After each player has taken a turn, a card is revealed from the timer deck.
When the timer deck runs out, the game ends, and all remaining cards in players' hands go to the agony side.
If there are more cards on the agony side, then everyone loses. But if there are more cards on the harmony side, then everybody wins.
We were given a copy of Expressions from the publisher so that we could do this review video and an unboxing video, which you can find below.
If you'd like to find out more information or buy a copy of the game, check out the links in our description below.
The thing that I really like about this is the deduction. I really like deduction games. And yes, it's a cooperative game, which I'm kind of hit or miss on. But with this one, because it's deduction, it kind of reminds me of other games like Paint the Roses, where you're working together, but it's still a deduction game. So I really enjoyed it at Gen Con, and I've loved playing it every time that we've played it ever since.
One thing I like about deduction games, and specifically this game because it's cooperative, is it reminds me more of the party games where there are rules like taboo, where it's like, okay, you can't say this, you can say this. Part of me enjoys like the fun of just like, hold on, am I allowed to say this? And so even when we were playing at Gen Con, it was like, oh, I think this. And it's like, well, you're not wrong in what you just said, but I don't think you can say that. It's like, okay, just pushing the boundaries, just making sure. It's kind of funny, but yes, I know if someone's taking the game very serious, they want to, like, no, you gave it all away. Like, never mind, let's restart. That's what I like about, another thing I like about this game is it plays really quickly. So if you do something like that, it's not a big deal. It's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just, redo it and let's start over again.
So the main rules are you're going to be dealt your cards, and you have your cards in your hand, and you're going to be looking at your cards, and you have to give out clues so that other players can figure out your cards. So for example, if these are the cards that you have in your hand, and you have a 2 and a 1 yellow, you can give a clue. So when you give clues, it's going to be determined by how you're facing your card, up, sideways, down, other sideways, and that'll determine what clue you're giving. So if I have a yellow 2 and a yellow 1, and I want to give a clue, I could say that this 2 is the highest yellow card in my hand. So I would give that clue out here, and everyone would say, oh, so the yellow 2 is the highest yellow card in your hand, which means I have other yellow cards, but if the 2 is the highest, I must also have that 1. So on another player's turn, they can be like, oh, Kenny has the yellow 1. If they guess correctly, I reveal it, I put it on the harmony side, and then the player who guesses also gets to choose a card to put on the harmony side. And when you're choosing a card after you've guessed correctly, you want to get rid of cards from your hand that are going to be hard for other players to guess. So either you have only one of a kind, or you have the highest, like you have a 10, or you have a 1 and not the 2 like I just demonstrated. So you want to get rid of the cards that you can not really give good clues for. And if you guess incorrectly, then the player who does have the card that you guess has to put their card on the agony side, and the player who guessed has to also put a card on the agony side. And by the end of the game, you need more cards on the harmony side.
So the example Kenny gave with the yellow 1 and 2, I find myself sometimes in these games where I may have just said, 1's my lowest card. And then it's like, oh, great. That doesn't help us at all. Like you could have 2, you could have 3, you could have 4. So, and then, but it's a learning process. So that's another thing. You're like, oh, okay. No harm done. But obviously if you're really not helping anyone, then now you have to play another clue card, which, eventually once they guess it, all your clues will go to agony. So, giving bad clues, you got to try and figure out what's the best, most efficient clue that everyone can kind of like, what's showing here and what I have. Okay, I get it now.
A good thing about this game is if you do guess incorrectly and you have to put cards on the agony side, you could still be giving information when you have to give up that card because you're still revealing a card. So if you do guess incorrect and you're like, oh man, I got to give up a card, but maybe you have a card that would help guess another player's card, or a card that can help guess your card, and you put that out, even though it's a negative point against you, if that clue ends up helping you figure out other cards, it's actually a plus in your team's case. So I do like that there is kind of an upswing to even when you fail, quote unquote, in this game.
Because I'm a fan of Texas Hold'em and Sherlock Holmes and whatnot, deduction games do appeal to me. But like, let's say the deduction games when it's not cooperative, like I'm always sitting there, I'm like, oh, how did they know that? Like what's going on? Like, how did they figure this out? But because it's not cooperative, everyone's kind of keeping their cards close to their chest and they can't tell me. In this cooperative game, I really love because it facilitates learning. It's like, oh, my brain didn't think like that, but now I'm able to think, now I'm able to know, and we're all learning together and winning together. That's the draw, or what like really pulls me to this game. The cooperative just deduction learning, like you can start hearing what everyone else is thinking and kind of form your own like paths as far as like, oh, this must be true because this is true. And then everyone else can kind of stress test it. Like, no, that's not, because this could also be true. So that like facilitation of the learning and how to like deduce and like help each other, that's what I really like about this.
I really like that deduction element of it, but I really like how those clues can come up. Not only can you put a clue out there and help people figure out what your cards are, but if you guess incorrectly and you have to play a card on agony, that helps you as well. When you flip over a timer card, even though you're adding it to the agony side, that helps you as well. When another player gives a clue, that can also help with another player's clue. So if you can like, oh, I'm gonna double up on this clue. By playing this clue, you're letting you know that it's my highest green card, but that's also revealing we had a 50-50 guess over here with Lee. Now we absolutely know what that is because the other card is here, and you can try to figure out my card, so it kind of helps each other. So you have that deduction synergy going on. So I really like that about this game. What did you not like about the game?
Yes, I love the deduction, but I feel at some point there's a saturation point where if we play it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, eventually it's going to be like, we're going to have our cards, you're going to do something, and then all of a sudden like we're all just one mind, and we're like, all right, he's got a 2, he's got a 4, he's got a this, so it'll just like, I don't know, it could go stale.
The thing that I don't like about this game, it's a part of the game, so it's not that I hate it, it's just I wish that there could be something that could fix it or change it. It's that you can do the math in your head and you can figure out when there's that tipping point of, all right, well, we've got too many agony cards, let's just stop. I don't like it when you're playing a game and either you're playing and it's like competitive, you're like, oh, he's got so many points, I can't even catch up. Like the mechanics of this game don't allow me to catch up. Let's just quit now. So you have to stop the game in the middle. I feel like when you play a game to its completion, if you win, yeah, that was awesome, we won, you feel great. If you play a game to its completion and you lose, you're like, ah, dang it, let's play again. Whereas if you play a game halfway through and you realize there's no way for us to win, that's even more disheartening than getting all the way to the end and then losing. Is it me, or is the game bad? Am I bad at playing? Are we bad at a team deducing what's going on? So that's what I don't like about it.
I liked that we learned it with new friends, and maybe that added to me liking it so much. But even when we took it home and played with our normal group and our normal friends, they also enjoyed it too, and I still enjoyed it. So I do like that aspect of it. The deduction, the learning, as I already spoke about, where we can just all learn together, really gets high marks for me. So I would recommend this game.
Even some of the flaws in it, as far as like sometimes you'll know when you're going to lose halfway through, that doesn't bother me that much. I wish there was something to do to change that. However, it doesn't detract from the fact that I really enjoy this game. So if you like deduction games, cooperative deduction games, figuring out the cards in players' hands by giving clues, that sounds interesting to you, I would also recommend this game. And that was our review of Expressions.
What'd you think? Is this game going to bring you harmony or agony? Let us know in the comments below.
Once again, we'd like to thank the publisher for giving us a copy so that we could do this review video. As always, if you're enjoying our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
And I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.